Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be explaining 5 things that I wish I would have knew before I got into drums. So the first thing that is a very common mistake amongst beginners and one of the most important things to focus on is knowing what to practice and when to practice it. So for instance, if you're playing the drums for hours on end, not playing to a metronome and not learning anything new, and you're just in a repetitive cycle of trying to speed up your drumming, you're going to end up crashing and burning. So how to overcome that is looking through new lessons and finding new songs to play and finding new beats and grooves to play as well. Also, I will be posting a lot more of those kind of things to help out the beginner drummers or for the people who don't really know what to play to find brand new unique fills and beats to play. For instance, you could also feel like as a beginner drummer that you're playing a lot, you're constantly practicing, and you feel like you're moving a little bit. You're probably not moving in a pace that you should be with your learning experiences. So first off, take a step back from trying to play fast and also take a step back from trying to learn certain songs. That will only impede on your drumming. Take a step back to the basics and learn those things and get them nice and clean and in the pocket. Being in the pocket is one of the most important things as a drummer because you are the main beat and tempo of the song. Because I see a lot of drummers, especially me when I first started, playing songs that you really cannot play. For instance, you might be able to play certain beats that are in a song and certain fills that are in that song as well, but you cannot play them clean and on time with the song. The next thing that is very important when starting on the drums is to improvise to things and come up with your own beats, grooves, and fills. That is very important for your own learning curve, especially if you want to be an independent drummer. By that, I mean making your own music and writing your own songs in the near future. And this was probably one of the biggest things that I struggled on the first time I picked up the sticks, was I instantly wanted to play my favorite songs right away and just get up to those speeds, and hate to break it to you, it's not going to work like that. So take a step back, practice to the metronome, those same beats and those same fills that are in that song, but practice them fairly slower. I would recommend starting with half speed of the fill. That is very important for 1, learning songs, and for 2, learning control and to stay in that pocket. But if I'm not playing fast, how can I learn to play fast? Here's a good tip and advice to learn to play faster. So if you want to get a lot faster and a lot more impressive with your drumming, it's going to take a lot of patience and also playing fast. You're going to have to push those boundaries and constantly up the tempo. Kind of like working out with a progressive overload. You're going to constantly progressively increase that metronome to a point where you're feeling like you're struggling to play it. And I've got to say, listening to a professional drummer who has made a living off of drumming tell you to practice with the metronome over and over again is very annoying. But it is very important and very crucial, and as a beginner drummer that just seems so boring. You just want to hop in and play those songs right off the bat, but it's not going to happen until you put in enough hours with a metronome, or at least practice once a day with a metronome for, say so, an hour. Another huge thing that a lot of beginners struggle with, and me personally struggled with a lot, is learning how to tune your drums. This is going to be one of the most crucial things that happen to impact your sound and your playing. So if you're tuning your drums incorrectly and they sound bad, it's going to make your playing sound 10 times worse. That being said, make sure that you're focusing on your tuning of your drums, and make sure you're focusing on where you're hitting your drums, as well as that hitting your drums in different places gives you a different sound no matter where you hit it. That is bringing me to my next point on accuracy. You really want to focus on your accuracy when it comes to playing the drums. So you don't want to just be hitting all over the place, hitting a bunch of rim shots for no reason, things like that. You want to make sure that you're staying within the center of the drum. Or if you're going for different sounds, like say on the snare, like a rim shot on the snare. And when it comes to accuracy, control is also a huge factor as well. Make sure you're controlling your sticks around the kit with accuracy. That will help with just timing and playing, and also the sound of your drumming. That is a common thing that brings beginner drummers down, is because they feel like they can play these things really well, but when they're hitting the drums in the wrong spaces and not hitting them accurately with that control, it can really dampen the sound of your playing. Next thing I'm going to talk about is the price. As a beginner drummer, it is very difficult to start getting into drumming due to the fact that you're going to be getting cheaper cymbals, you're going to be getting a cheaper drum kit and cheaper drum pedals. These things do impact your sound massively, and you really got to know and find out that point where you feel like you need to dedicate a lot more money to your playing. So if it is something that you're just picking up and you really don't feel confident about, it is not worth the risk to up that gear until you start getting better and you feel confident that it is something that you want to pursue. So when it comes to getting cheaper gear, some cymbals and some things like that can be fairly decent and sound fairly decent. And same thing with the drums, as long as you have good drum heads and good tuning, all drums can sound really, really good. But when it comes to cymbals and pedals and other gear like so, it's definitely going to be a lot more difficult to get to the point where you want to be, especially when it comes to metal drumming and things that are a lot faster and require a lot more double bass and things like that. You're going to have to spend a lot more money to get nicer pedals because the cheaper pedals aren't going to hold up when it comes to those kind of speeds. So I would recommend when you start upping your gear from the basic beginner cymbal sets, I would start recommending just getting new hi-hats, a new ride cymbal, and a nice crash. Those three things will really improve the sound of your drums overall due to the fact that your cymbals are going to sound more brilliant and they're going to sound more crisp and clean, and it's going to impact the sound of your drums massively. And that is a huge thing that brings beginners down, is because their drums don't sound as good as a lot of the professionals. That being said, bringing me to my next point, stop comparing yourself to professional drummers. They've been doing it their whole life and they sound that good for a reason. For that reason is because they stayed consistent and they stayed practicing and they stayed true to what they want to do. Having consistency in your playing and in the certain techniques that you're evolving into and those kind of things will massively impact your drumming and make you a better drummer overall. So that being said, stop comparing yourself to professional drummers. Playing every single day can start to impact your playing and your learning curve due to the fact that you'll start to burn out and overwhelm yourself with certain things that you're learning and certain things that you are playing, leading you to writer's block. That is probably one of the scariest things that a drummer can experience, or a musician in general can experience, because you just feel lost and you feel very demotivated to play anything. Another huge and impactful thing that drummers can fall into is not realizing what they are doing wrong. So, for instance, if you're playing a double bass pattern or double bass in general and you're starting to feel fatigue in your shins or in your calves, you're probably playing with the wrong technique. Make sure that you're adjusting those things so you're not playing with any fatigue or pain, and focusing on those things and being aware that those things are happening. So for instance, if you're playing with your sticks and you're playing really fast, and you feel like you're playing fairly clean, but your hands keep cramping up, your forearms hurt, and your wrists are hurting, you're probably doing something wrong. So take a step back and focus on those certain things that you are doing wrong, especially when it comes to wrist pain and hand pain. Those things can really impact you and stunt your drumming learning experience. I'm no professional, but make sure that you're practicing to a metronome, and also make sure you're having as much fun as you can behind the kit. Those two things are the most important when first starting drums. Don't feel discouraged, and keep working and keep going as hard as you can and keep learning new things every single day. Dan the Man, out.